Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to another episode of Booking a Better Wrestler. My name is Paul Laporte, and this is the show where we take one wrestler from the WWE roster and see if we can maybe do a better job with him than the current writing team is doing, at least in my opinion. I hope you've been enjoying the show so far. If you haven't done so already, be sure to check out the last episode we've done on Samoa Joe. Also have a couple new episodes of Changing the Questions up this week on how to become an independent wrestler that we did on Tuesday, and one that we put up yesterday on what the best year in professional wrestling was. We've also been doing a new video series called Quick Questions, which is 1 minute or less video clips of me answering a small question that we really don't need to dedicate a whole episode of Changing the Questions to. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get on to this episode of Booking a Better Wrestler, and the subject that we are choosing for today's episode is going to be none other than Stardust, aka Cody Rhodes. And I wanted to address this right in the beginning because this seems to be the big question of what to do in regards to the Stardust character. Do you keep it? Do you go back to him being Cody Rhodes? There's a lot of people out there who would prefer that he just ditch the Stardust gimmick and go back to being just Cody Rhodes. Personally, I believe we should keep it. I think it's an original gimmick. It's an interesting character. Cody does a great job with it, and I think that it's easier for him to do a better job of being a noticeable character, whether or not he's a face or whether or not he's a heel. If you take him out of the paint, first of all, Cody Rhodes is a very handsome gentleman. He has model good looks, and people who have good looks like that tend to not get over very well as baby faces, just because people can't relate to them, they can't get behind them. It just traditionally doesn't work out that way. And as a heel, he's just kind of gonna be another guy. He'll be another semi-clean cut, heel who cheats. I don't know. Personally, I would prefer that he keep the Stardust character. I think it's versatile. I think it's good as a heel right now, and that's where it should kind of continue to go. But if some point down the line he wants to switch over to babyface, he can do a good job of that, and it'll be easier for him to sell cool merch and stuff like that too, and make himself and the company a few extra bucks. Alright, so now that we've decided that we're going to keep the Stardust character, let's go ahead and tie up one big loose end that's just been hanging around for the better part of a year, and that is the feud with Goldust. These two were feuding last year, and then of course Dusty Rhodes passed away, so that kind of put a damper on everything in terms of their in-ring work, and then when they both came back, they didn't really interact with each other much. Of course, Stardust had his little run with the Ascension, which I honestly enjoyed, and I wish they would have done more with, but I think that if we're going to get Stardust back on the right track to being a notable wrestler in the storylines, we need to tie up this loose end. So let's go ahead and do that by having these two run into each other like they have at many different times at the Royal Rumble. It's almost been kind of a trope that Cody and Goldust, specifically when they're teaming up at the time, will turn on each other at the Royal Rumble. And this one is going to be different in that they're not together right now. And actually, once they kind of face off with each other, Goldust does try and make amends. He extends his hand. He offers to, kind of make peace, make amends with Cody, with Stardust, Cody, whoever, but Stardust completely rejects that and just attacks him wildly, and these two just brawl all around the Rumble, getting in the way of other people, and then they end up actually just eliminating each other by tumbling over the top rope and brawling to the back. And then later on in the night or the next day, BABW.com releases a video of the two brawling backstage until they're broken apart by the backstage crew and by the wrestlers. So now that you have these two back on each other's radar, you book a match for Fastlane, Goldust versus Stardust, with Stardust getting the win. The next night on Raw after Fastlane, Goldust is going to cut a promo, and he's going to come out decked in his old all-gold gear, the big gold robe. He can steal it back from Ava Marie and put gold sequins on it, or like it was originally supposed to be, and the all-gold face paint and the long flowing wig. And he says that if he wants to defeat Stardust, he is going to need to become as strange as he is. And this is the resurgence of the old Goldust, and these two continue to battle throughout the Raws and SmackDowns leading up to WrestleMania, with Goldust getting increasingly troublesome for Stardust, getting the better of him with his new/old attitude. Stardust just isn't able to handle it. He's getting out-weirded by the original master of mind games. Finally, this culminates with Stardust calling out Goldust and challenging him to a match at WrestleMania. And Stardust says that if Goldust wins, Stardust will, quote-unquote, leave this planet forever, intimating that maybe he will go back to being Cody Rhodes. But if Stardust wins, then Goldust must, quote-unquote, leave the WWE universe, setting up for basically a mask versus career match is what it ends up being. Goldust agrees, but under the stipulation that it's going to be a backlot brawl. For those of you who remember the WrestleMania 12 match between him and Roddy Piper. Now, we're not in Hollywood, it's going to be in Texas, but who cares? So WrestleMania comes, and the backlot brawl needs to be as wild as possible. This needs to be completely out of control. Obviously, it can't be as violent as the original was. A lot of the spots they can't do over again, but there can still be a lot of creative things you can do with this. There can be lots of props, lots of crazy spots involving scenery. These two just need to go all out. And the match is going to end with these two making their way back to the ring after brawling all around Dallas Cowboy Stadium, and Goldust gets the upper hand. Stardust is out on his feet. Goldust pulls him back for the curtain call with Cody Stardust dropping to his knees, and then Goldust stops and he just looks into his brother's eyes, his half-conscious, sad eyes, and he hesitates. You know, he sees again his brother, the brother that he thought he lost to this madman, and it's enough to give him pause. And that pause is what Stardust uses to low blow Goldust, hit him with the crossroads, and get the pin, forcing Goldust to retire. Goldust is gone. Any semblance of Cody Rhodes out the window. When Stardust beat Goldust, he basically buried what was left of Cody. And from here, you can book Stardust as a credible mid-card threat. I mean, Cody Rhodes is a great wrestler, and he can have great feuds with just about anybody in the U.S. title scene and the Intercontinental title scene. Kevin Owens, Dean Ambrose, Neville, Ziggler, I mean, Rusev, anybody, you name it. And he's going to have a good match with them. And like I said, this could be a babyface or a heel. Cody/Stardust can do a really good job of filling that Joker role and just be an anarchist that's incredibly tough to beat because you just don't know what he's going to do. He's just so unpredictable. He's going to be really, really difficult to handle. And I do think that if you wanted to make a push for him to a world title scene, I don't necessarily know if you could ever really get him there, but if you wanted to, I believe that Stardust could be one of the last great Money in the Bank holders. I mean, honestly, to me, Money in the Bank is one of those things that I just kind of wish they do away with, or they would make it so it's not the same played out, oh, I'm going to cash it in when this guy's all beat up sort of thing. I think Stardust could do some really interesting things with the whole I can cash this in at any time scenario, and I think that would make him kind of one of the last really cool people that you could see having this briefcase and not kind of groan whenever they come out with it or whenever there is a title match. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to wrap it up for this week's episode. I hope you enjoyed. Be sure to check out all of our other content. Be sure to check out our YouTube page where we have everything we've done, podcast and video series. If you're listening to this on iTunes, be sure to give us a 5-star review, leave us some nice comments. But again, if you are listening to the podcast, we can only put up the last few episodes or so. I know I kind of say this every time, but I want to make sure that if you are listening to this via iTunes, that you check out any back-ish or back content or any extra content that we don't necessarily put up in the audio feed. Not only are we going to have the video series, but I'm also going to be putting up some extras from shows that we've recorded in the past that maybe kind of got way off topic that I edited out of other episodes, but I still want to put back in at some point as conversation. Those are going to be going up on the YouTube page as well. If you want to leave us any feedback, please do. We love hearing feedback from everybody who listens. We want to make these shows better. We want to make this channel as good as it can be. Be sure to send your feedback to either changingthequestions@gmail.com. You can check us out on Twitter at changingtheqs, which is at changingtheqs. You can also send us a message on Facebook. Just be sure to look up Changing the Questions on Facebook. Just do a search for that. That'll take you right to us. Thank you again for listening, and I'll see you soon. Bye.